welcome to the Pol-Economic podcast. Today we're here with Ms. Naouel. If you can give me a brief introduction of yourself.
Okay, hi, good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here with you. Thank you for this. My name is Naouel Chaoui, Feveti from my husband. I'm Algerian and Italian. I've been in the UAE for the last 30 years of my life. I had different stages of life and, part one, part two, part whatever. And my background is literature. I love being here. I have three kids, and I'm not kids anymore. I have three men who are studying abroad at university.
That's very interesting. Thank you for that. You mentioned in your introduction that you have an interest towards literature. So I wanted to ask, what caused your shift from this literary run into the United Nations, and also like how did these experiences early on shape your career?
Okay. I did my studies in Algeria, and I loved languages. I always felt that knowing a new language, I love staying with people, I love mixing with people, and I always felt that learning languages means going abroad, like traveling and being able to communicate wherever I go. That was my scope. I always loved reading since childhood. And when I did my studies at university, of course, my mother wanted me to be like my brothers and sisters, a doctor. Yeah. But I saw them how they used to study, and I really refused to be like them. And I really wanted to have a bit of freedom to be able to do what I like and at the same time enjoy my young years. So I enrolled in the University of Algiers for languages, and the main language I chose was English because French and Arabic were already my mother tongues. So then I had to specialize, and through the BA, I loved American contemporary literature, and I specialized in that. So this is where I did my master. Then I started teaching at university, and I finished my studies. I was very young because I finished high school. I was 17. And then, so the people I was teaching were nearly my age.
Yeah.
So I opened a private school in Algeria, which was for adults. At that time, it was something, wow, incredible. But we did it with a friend of mine, he's still there. And we became the center of all the American and the British exams. So for me, it was like, wow, we made it. How did I move to the United Nations? All what I have done in my life has been by chance, even if I don't believe in chance, but I never chose it. It happened to me. I was traveling to the US because I was doing a master program during summers. It was a 2 summers program, and it was peace education. So on my way to the US, I passed by Rome because I had a good friend of mine who was living there. And I stopped by, and one day, that same day, she was going to the UN headquarters to meet a friend of hers. So I was very curious to see this building where we all dream of the UN, and we see, wow, this is a job that is great. And I went there with absolutely no intention whatsoever to be working there at all. So sitting, having lunch with this friend, um, I was reading the board, and it was written, we are looking for, it was a staff announcement, and they were looking for someone to do training, to deal with the training programs in the whatever projects the UN was doing. And this was in FAO, Food Agricultural Organization. Of course, I saw it, but it was far from being what I wanted to do because my brain was, I'll go to the US, finish my master, go back to Algeria, September, the university starts, go back to teaching and go back to my school. Then the situation in Algeria, the turmoil, the political turmoil started. And yes, and then I was a bit like, I went back to Algeria anyway, but then the freedom of my going around and about was becoming restricted. And I'm like, when I have this, I feel like a bird in a cage because I go out a lot. I do plenty of things. I had an association of women, etc. So my mother uh, remembered the post I had seen in the UN. And she said, "Why don't you apply for this? At least it would be a good experience, just for some months, I think, until we see clear in here." After having refused and refused, I said, "Okay, let me give it a try. Anyway, they won't take me." So I applied, and after like a week, I got a reply accepting me for a 3 months contract. So I took a year off, and I decided to go and try it anyway. I said, "Why not?" It's just, but I never took it seriously. Okay, 3 months, the job was fantastic. I was dealing with all, that in every project of the UN, there is a training program because you can't go to give without teaching the people on the ground how then to use the technology, whatever you have brought in. So I was enjoying it. And I loved this international background and whatever. And there were a lot of challenges. And 3 months became six, and 6 months became 1 year. And then 1 year, I got a life contract. So I moved to the World Food Program, and this is my career in the UN started seriously.
That's really impressive. And do you think also, like, you mentioned the political turmoil in Algeria, do you think that also, like, fueled your need to help other people get
Well, yes, in Algeria, anyway, even if it is a rich country, there are always people who are in remote areas where they don't have literacy. Women in Algeria had no rights. If a woman gets divorced, she loses everything and she's outside. And all these things, I have always been very sensitive to that because in my family at home we had a lot of freedom, and my mother always and father always considered us equal with my brothers. So I couldn't understand how a woman didn't have a right or whatever. And since high school, I've always joined any association for any project that was trying to help these women. Actually, the association was called Le Mouvement Féminin de la Femme Rurale. So it was a feminine movement for rural women, for rural areas. And we used to go to very remote areas. And this is how I really discovered the whereabouts of Algeria and the small, small, tiny towns, and where we used to help these women in like making carpets, and then we would bring them in the center and sell them. And so I've always, like this.
Yeah. So you spoke about how you had very diverse experiences in your career, like from literature, business, and education through this university in Algeria. So how do all of these different disciplines interplay through your literature?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because moving from teaching American literature, contemporary literature, to United Nations, and then, through the third step was when I arrived in the UAE, I met my husband. And yeah, when I was in the United Nations, I felt that I needed more. So I joined university, I took a year off, and I did an MBA because that was the new trend. And I felt with literature, training is fine, but I needed some knowledge on management, business, administration, etc. It opened another world to me. And I met my husband, and I came to the UAE because he was living here. When I reached here, like, now what? There was no United Nations office here, and I didn't know what to do. So I went back I said, okay, I have a master in business administration. I have a career in teaching, so I'm going to join a university. So I worked at the American University of Sharjah for some years. And uh, literature has always been my passion because I read, I discover, etc. But then after that, I got my children, and I really wanted to enjoy, being a mother. I quit AUS, and then I joined the Emirates Literature Foundation, and this is where I found my complete joy. I could take care of my children because the timings were very, very easy. I could read more and discover more writers. And at the same time, I was into different departments, into marketing, into management, into, partnerships. So it could fulfill all the needs I wanted. So I participated in most of the festivals of literature here, and it was a blast for me. I really, really loved it.
During your time with this foundation, you said like throughout the podcast that you value culture and like heritage coming from a very diverse background. So how do you also captivate audiences that are from diverse backgrounds and make sure that everyone is in touch with literature?
Uh, that's a very good question. Usually, living in this platform in the UAE, it has been an amazing, fact that you have so many nationalities living here. I was very lucky because I speak different languages and I could join different groups. The Arab groups, the English speaking group, the Italian group, and then I found that I could see, these people who live here in this festival where we all met to meet a writer. Mm. And the idea was there is no better link between all of us, as different nationalities, different languages, different cultures, to meet around a book or around literature. So I created this book club called the Readers Majlis, where we don't read one book all together with the same language, but I just give a theme for the month, and then each one of us we could bring and read a book of her own culture and of her own language. So this would make a platform that gathers different nationalities, different cultures, different languages, and we learn from each other. Mhm. So, the common thing was reading, but then we would speak about different. So you come in with your book and you end up knowing so many things about the different cultures around you.
It's very interesting. And do you think Dubai being like the number one cosmopolitan city in the world is like helping like engaging different diverse audiences specifically in literature?
Well, yes, there are a lot of cosmopolitan cities in the world. If you see London, if you see Paris, if you see Milano, they are cosmopolitan cities. But the difference is the beauty of the UAE is that the expats are not a minority. We are the majority of the population. So let's say it's a platform for different nationalities, including the local nationality. It is not a place like if you go to London, you are going to England. You are an expat, but you have to embrace the culture in which you are living. The difference here is that you continue with your own traditions, cultures, because you find everything here. But at the same time, you mix with others without feeling the minority.
Mhm. And do you think that because of like this nature, you said also it fosters more like culturally based projects here? So like for example, you came out with your series Legacy, and I wanted to ask like how do you see your role in preserving cultural heritage through the series, and what responsibilities also come with telling these stories that are rooted in cultural traditions?
Yeah, the legacy is a series that I'm working on. The idea came from my book club, the Readers Majlis. Because we were reading different books, I decided, and we have all of us a story to tell. I felt that because we need this culture, our roots are our culture and where we come from. Then, of course, we embrace different traditions and different cultures from others because we like them, we want to try them, and we want to know them, which is something very enriching. But then we want to leave something to our kids, and we want to leave something, the values that we learned from our homes, we would like them to continue through our next generations. What is the best way to do that? My grandmother, when I was very little, was telling me a lot of stories. And I learned so much through the stories she was telling me about how they used to celebrate, anything, يعني a wedding or the habits and the little things that I was not aware of were told to me through stories. And I said, okay, so why don't we? I know it's a drop in the sea, but then the project is to encourage people to tell stories which for many of us seem to be obvious, taken for granted, and very futile. Like, what is it talking about the best food you've had in your life around the table with your family? But it's not the food itself. It's just the moment, the context in which you lived that moment. So the first book was on food, and it's called Memorable Flavors. And it is more on the memories that come to us when we taste or we smell that type of food or ingredient. And speaking about that, telling the story, my sons, from as far as I'm concerned, my story was edited and translated by my sons because they are mother tongue in English. So I thought they would be best, and they know the story because they know the food that I was talking about. And, I felt that they were so proud of me telling this story, and I was so proud of having them reading it and rereading it and appreciating it and encouraging me. So I said, "Wow, it works." The next book is going to talk about. We're working on it, and I already have the writers, the co-writers. Is about costumes and jewelry. Um, the thing is, why different writers? Because I want to gather as many nationalities as I can. So the first one, we were 12 women, 12 stories, 12 nationalities. And it is the number 12 is the months of the year. It means time evolves. So we evolve with time. The second one is still 12 women, but that will be different nationalities. So the idea is to spread it among different countries. Actually, the book is going to be translated into Italian and French, and is going to be also distributed in other countries. We really want to spread this idea of tell your story, tell your traditions to others so that they know about you.
And you also think that with this, it's sort of encouraging a form of familial bonding, like sharing each other's oral history, like you mentioned, between you and your son. Should that be prioritized in our society where, technology is rising and families really spend time with each other?
Absolutely, yes. This is an excellent question. I feel I never felt that technology or whatever is going to disturb the bonds that we have with family because I agree with technology. I don't mind the video games. I don't mind video games. I don't mind all what these young people are doing. On the contrary, I admire it. And I feel that they are going ahead with time. We can't just criticize what is coming from. We have to embrace it, accept it, and I want to learn. I even play some games with my kids, because I'm curious. What is this? How can we be constructive about it? But at the same time, our dinners are crucial. Our lunches are crucial. What I cook for them, I cook for them. And it is, I don't believe in quantity time. I believe in quality time. So if you have to visit a grandmother and eat her food or her dish. And in many of our cultures, food or whatever gathering is a sign of love.
That's great. I also wanted to ask, since you said that you work in multiple languages, Arabic, French, English, and Italian, how do you think this multilingualism enriches the literature and also how it shapes your engagement with these different audiences if it gives you a deeper sense of understanding?
Yes, it is a big enrichment because there are many, let's say, if I do a presentation, or for example, I'm doing a course now, I'm giving a course on emotional intelligence, and I have different nationalities sitting in the room. There are some words that I have to translate into Arabic when there is an Arabic audience, or I have to translate it into French when there is a French audience. There are very technical words in English, and this really facilitates me, the task. And the participants are very happy because they grasp it on the spot. Another thing, if you speak the language of the people you have in front of you, it makes the bond much easier because knowing their language, if you are doing it in French or in English, whether in whatever language, you can easily switch from one language to another to get a bond with these people and to understand them. Speaking the different languages also make you understand their culture. Reading a book in its original language is nothing to do with comparing to it to reading the book in a translated language.
Now, going back to the themes of legacy, it's about, creating cultural continuity and like a sense of understanding with generations. So how do you aim to sort of abolish this language barrier and like bring different cultures together among future generations through your various projects?
Well, the various projects I'm doing is to try and, forget about the language as a barrier, but try to bond with people through art, creativity, literature. You can bond. How many times I found myself with people that do not speak any of the four languages I speak, but we still bond because we are in a situation where we are doing something we love, both of us. So this smile, these looks, this, and somehow we end up understanding each other. How? I cannot explain it. So language should never be a barrier. Language is just a tool that we use. But let's use other tools to be, bonding together.
And do you think through culture it's gonna establish this form of maybe like non-verbal like sense of understanding communications?
Absolutely, yes. How many times have we been to an exhibition? We are in an art exhibition here. And, the artist here is a Saudi. Most of the writings on the boards are in Arabic. But, my husband, who doesn't really read Arabic, was amazed by the work, and he sensed, the meaning of what this artist wants to convey. So, does he understand the language? No. But it is through the art. So you feel the artist, you feel the art. It resonates. Some paintings or some books, or whether even if you don't understand the language, they resonate with maybe an experience you had in your life.
All right, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated it.
Thank you. It's been really a pleasure. Thank you for your great questions. Really, they were straight to the point, and I love them.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye.